Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Winnipeg Jets. Now before we start with our preview, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Jets were able to make the playoffs last year. Ultimately though, they weren't able to do a whole lot, losing to the eventual champions, the Vegas Golden Knights, in 5 games in the first round. They were able to steal game 1 though, but we saw some drama this offseason where you saw Pierre-Luc Dubois end up getting traded to the Los Angeles Kings, which kind of leaves a lot of people wondering just where exactly this team is headed and is it in the right direction. So what are some storylines to talk about for this club going into this season? Well, the first one is, can some younger forwards end up helping them get back to the playoffs? There's a few guys in mind that I think of. Cole Perfetti and Gabriel Velarde are the two that I kind of want to talk about here. Perfetti was taken 10th overall a couple years ago in the draft by Winnipeg. Has not maybe put up those flashy numbers, but last year had 30 points in 51 games played, so nearly 0.6 points per game. A guy that probably is going to be playing some second line minutes this year. His points per 60 were up there really well with younger guys too, guys like Beniers, Michelli, Reichel, up there like top 5 for rookies this past season, so that's really good. So you're possibly seeing maybe a 50-point season from him. He is a young guy that has some talent and is a guy that a lot of people are hoping for good things, again, considering that the Jets took him 10th overall in the draft. But again, I do think at this point you're wondering, will he be a star? Maybe not. I guess you'd kind of lean in that trajectory. Will he be an NHL regular? Hockey Prospecting has him as yes, he will be. So if he turns into this second line guy that continues to grow, maybe he gives you 60 or 70 points a season, whatever the case may be, that's good. Right now, you just want him to go out there and play well and kind of build off what he did last year. And I'm hoping that he can be good because, again, if he did have a 50-plus point season for them, I think a lot of people in Winnipeg would be pretty happy about it. As for Velarde, he's kind of interesting because he was part of the PLD trade, so he's always going to be compared in this sense of how did this trade go? Was it good for the team? Was it bad for the team? He's coming off of a 23-goal season with the Kings, another guy that is a little bit younger that can come in and hopefully help them out. I don't really know where he's going to play right now. It does seem like he's going to get some minutes with Perfetti, and I don't want to sound dramatic here and say that this is going to be kind of like what I said in the Chicago preview where you've got the Reichel-Bedard potential line pairing where, you know, things look really good and you've got 2/3 of a line figured out for the long term with some younger guys that are talented. But I do hope, I guess, that things work out for them because maybe you have Perfetti setting up Velarde for goals, racking up a bunch of assists, Velarde having a bunch of goals. That would be the ideal situation for them because you'd have your 10th overall pick playing really well and then the guy that you involved in your trade for your second line center, really your top center at points, and him, you know, having success is kind of key for this trade. So those guys, maybe like Kapari playing bottom 6 role for them, could be part of this as well. Just getting some younger guys, filling in for some older guys that have been there for a while now, and kind of keep the train rolling, I guess. Now, the second talking point is, can they get some more points in overtime? Last year, the Jets finished with 3 points from overtime or shootout losses. And I know a lot of people are going to point out, well, they did win 46 games. That's good. That is good. Absolutely. However, the 3 points from all that was the fewest, I think, in the shootout era. I don't know for sure. I went back to like 2010 or 11. Couldn't find anything about any team finishing with less. There was some, you know, shortened seasons, obviously, where teams tied with it. But for a whole 82-game season, I couldn't find anything like that. The Jets had, I believe, 32 games that were losses that were by more than 1 goal. So you got to find ways to tie it up and send it into overtime. Because, again, if you make it there, you get the point. If you win there, you get 2 points. So you might as well try to get there if it's close. I know that's easier said than done. But a team like Calgary last year finished with 17 extra points thanks to what they're able to do. Nearly snuck in the playoffs partially because of that. We realistically could have seen the Flames end up making it over the Jets last year had they been able to pick up a few more wins later in the season, even though they would have had fewer wins on the year. And that's just, it's kind of one of those deals where you got to be able to pick up those points. You got to be able to make things happen. Or I guess in a perfect world, you win games more in regulation. I don't know, but 3 is just not cutting it. You got to find ways to get those games that are close. If it's down by a goal, you got to get a few more there. Because you'd hate to say, man, we had some moments that we could have picked up some extra points along the way and we just missed out on the playoffs because we weren't able to pick up some extra points. Although I know people tend to focus more on the wins that you didn't win, and I guess I get that instead of the overtime points. And the final talking point is, will the Central be their friend? This is weird because I actually just had a very heated discussion with a buddy from work that's a huge hockey fan, where I think a lot of people are viewing the Central as possibly the worst division or the second worst division in hockey now, whereas the Central was a bloodbath for years. You have the Hawks and the Coyotes that are in rebuilds, and then you have some other teams like St. Louis, you have teams like Nashville, and again, Winnipeg. You're just not really sure what's going on here with what these teams are doing and what, they kind of want to go in terms of a route. So with the Jets, you could be looking at it to where things are good for them, where they are able to take advantage of the division, especially if teams like St. Louis sells, teams like Nashville sell, if things start off poorly, and then you're going to be able to take advantage of that. However, things really don't matter because last year they went 18-8 within the division, so that's not too bad there. 13-8 and 3 in the competition against the rest of the conference. Again, not bad. What was their undoing? Playing the Eastern Conference. They went 15-17 in that span. Again, they didn't pick up any extra points out there either. So I don't want to say that the Central will be their best friend because it kind of already was last year when they were able to take advantage of some games. They are just going to have to do better against teams in the East, I guess, if you want to go that route. Again, you can only win so many games within your division. 18 games in turning those into wins is already a lot, so it's hard to ask for more out of that. You're just going to have to play better against the teams that you play in the East, which is going to be tough because there's a lot of good teams in the East, which was another debate me and my buddy had at work where he said he doesn't actually think the East is that good this year. He thinks that it's really top heavy, but it's going to be one of those things that the Jets are in a spot right now where they just have to take advantage of every situation because they weren't going out there and winning 55 games. They were out there just scraping their way into the playoffs. So it will kind of be interesting to see what happens for the Jets this year. Will the division be harder? That remains to be seen. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Jets? In my opinion, they are one of the hardest teams to really pin down and get an idea on because, you just don't know what's going to happen with them. They made the playoffs last year. They have some younger guys in their forward group, especially, that are interesting. But at the same time, will Morrissey have another big year where he's coming off of a 76-point season? Will some of these other guys like Hellebuck that are free agents at the end of the year, will they demand a trade if things start slowly? Will the relationship with Bonus and the players be all right? Seems like maybe it is. Bonus kind of went out and basically said recently that there's no friction and people just made it out to be a bigger deal than what it was. I can't tell you. Could they make the playoffs? Yes, they could. Could they end up shipping a lot of guys out because things aren't going well and they realize that a lot of these guys aren't going to re-sign? Very well could. Could they have a bad year but those guys stick around and re-sign anyway? Very well could. I don't know what the Jets are. What I think the Jets are is not a playoff team. Probably, again, as a wild card. I kind of have my top 3 in the division for the Central already picked. So my opinion is not going to change until they do it. So I don't know. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here again with Winnipeg because obviously they haven't seen some of the heights that they had in a few seasons. But I think that this year we'll see a regression. But again, with those younger guys, I guess watching out to see what they could do for the team going forward is kind of key for this. But anyway, what are your thoughts for the Jets going into the season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe and have a great night. You go love hockey already. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.